Good morning, Triton. Welcome to the 13th episode of VTV. This week's episode is right in time for the presidential election season.
That's right, and one of the most important issues discussed by the candidates has been how to deal with the nuclear threats made by North Korea.
Did you know that a similar situation occurred 54 years ago? Teachers and parents might be familiar with it, but for those of you who don't know, it was called the Cuban Missile Crisis.
In this first segment, Sarah Magicomo shows us what went down.
What I remember the most is President Kennedy being on TV. We didn't find out about the missiles until he spoke. I mean, there were talks about stuff going on in Cuba, but being 18, you really didn't pay an awful lot of attention to it.
I was 8 or 9 at the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis.
You know, most people see what they see on television and hear what they hear, but they don't really know what's going on.
Height of the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union have been racing to build more and more nuclear weapons. The question became, how close can each country put their nuclear missiles to the other without disrupting the very, very delicate balance that was mutual assured destruction?
Our lives were right at stake because anything could happen. We were terrified of Khrushchev, not knowing what he was going to do to us or to our country. And I think everyone in Ireland was scared of him. Everyone. We were terrified. If we saw a plane, we would think that it was him that sent it.
The Soviet Union decided to put medium and short-range nuclear missiles on Cuba that were then discovered by an American U-2 spy plane. Then the question became, inside the American administration, how do we get them out?
We basically had the epitome of brinkmanship, which is threatening to go to nuclear war, and it looked like for a while to the world we were very close to Kennedy and Khrushchev actually declaring war on each other.
If you negotiate, if you're only going to use diplomacy, how do you verify? If you're going to invade, what is the point of your invasion? Cuba hadn't done anything aggressive, so you would have this very large country attacking a very small country that has a very long and complicated history with. And then, of course, if you bomb, how do you know that you've got them all? And if you don't get them all, and the Soviets decide to fire them, or the Cubans decide to fire them, then there's trouble. Every option, with the exception of the one that was chosen, it seems, would have led to some larger scale war.
Like, it wasn't enough that we thought the world was already ending. We started to do these drills and turn on the fire alarm and say, okay, when you hear the alarm, you dive under your desk. And I remember even as a child thinking, like, really, this is going to prevent a bomb from destroying us? It was kind of surreal. It felt like everything had gone crazy, just like that. Like, what is happening? The world is ending, and now we have to hide under our desks.
I mean, we never thought that Khrushchev would back down. So that's why they thought Kennedy was the best guy in the world.
He just made you feel safe. Though he was so calm, and he kept his calm. For me, to get the Russians to back down was the biggest victory ever. When he made a speech, you never forgot it. You know, just like his inaugural address, you just don't forget it.
What I think the biggest impact is that the Soviet Union and the United States thereafter, JFK and Nikita Khrushchev at that time, had essentially that hotline in which they were able to communicate to each other in a time of need if necessary. Obviously that was very necessary. This was the first time to halt any type of world war at that time.
It certainly led to at least getting some agreement on not testing nuclear weapons in outer space.
Well, I think the Cuban Missile Crisis showed us how scary nuclear war can be and the potential for nuclear war, and I don't think we ever saw anything of that scale happen again after the Cuban Missile missile crisis.
Our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's futures, and we are all mortal.
I can't believe we were that close to a nuclear war.
I wonder if that situation could happen again with North Korea, or even ISIS.
John F. Kennedy really knew how to handle that crisis, but what about today's candidates?
It really makes you think seriously about who to vote for president in the coming election when our country's security is on the line.
Find out what your fellow classmates and teachers think about the candidates in this next segment by my homeboy Dylan Waters.
This November, the number of presidential candidates will be cut down during the primaries. Students and teachers are starting to pay more attention to the issues of the election.
I don't really know a lot about all of them, but from what I do know, I'd probably vote for Bernie Sanders only because, I don't know, it seems like he's looking out for the kids and he wants to make colleges free. I don't know, I just agree with that. I think that's a good idea.
Tough question. So I think right now there's probably 3 candidates that are sticking out in my mind. There's the 2 Democrats, the front runners Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, and then it seems to me that Donald Trump's going to get the Republican nomination. And if I had to choose, that's kind of pick your poison. Bernie Sanders is a little old. We've already been there and done that with the Clinton, although Bill was great. Let's go Donald Trump because he has lots of money, and if I vote for him, maybe he'll like me and give me some of that money.
I think Bernie Sanders is going to win because he doesn't want to help big corporations out. He wants to help the people and the little guy. And
I would pick Bernie Sanders because he is talking to the kids and getting them to vote, like the people who are just able to vote, and he wants to change how the country is with all the different stuff that's wrong with it. So yeah.
I consider myself an independent. I'm neither a Democrat nor a Republican. There are, I believe, useful points from both sides of the aisle, and as an independent, I get to choose the candidate that I think best represents my personal ideals. If you go whole hog one way or the other, you're kind of stuck and limited to the candidates that party is offering, and I'd like to be able to choose between all of the candidates.
I am a Democrat because I was brought up that way, and my parents would roll in their graves and haunt me if I ever pulled the lever for a Republican. I just believe more in what the Democrats have to say, not all the time, but most of the time, than the Republicans.
I consider myself an independent. I'm a registered independent. I'm not registered Republican or Democrat. Just because I think the two extremes, the two parties, I sort of get why our government has to run with elected parties. But I prefer not to put myself into one of those two categories. Just sort of gives me more freedom and ability to make my own decisions and form my own opinions, and I sometimes lean more right or more left depending on the issue. If I had to say which one I probably lean towards more is some of the Democratic views, but not 100% across the board.
I think the main challenges the new president is going to face is going to be how to deal with ISIS and the growing number of school shootings.
I want a commander-in-chief who will do everything in their power to ensure that the threat from radical Islamic terrorists do not wash up on American soil.
The toughest situation for the upcoming president would be how many jobs we can try to get, because the minimum wage is going up.
I think the biggest challenge for an incoming president is unifying the country. I think we're severely divided on a number of issues. I think we're divided down party lines, and as a result, we're not able to get anything done. So I think that's the biggest issue. I think we need a president who is a leader and not a politician. A leader is someone that can unify people of different ideals and bring them together.
Triton students and teachers care about who will be elected the next president of the United States. No matter who is elected president, students should get involved because it's their future.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I think I have the flu.
I don't know about that. I heard the nurse talking to one of the teachers about another disease that's floating around, and it's pretty violent.
What's it called? What are the symptoms?
You should know, you made this next piece.
Warning. A new disease has been found to be spreading through Triton. Doctors have labeled it as Coccidiomitis B. Many students and faculty members may already have it and not even know yet. Symptoms include, but are not limited to, the urge to listen to Iggy Azalea.
Come together right now over me. I'm so fancy, you already know.
Dramatic sneezing. Excessive laughter. And sudden failure of vital organs leading to death. Coccidiomitis B is spread by the common fly, the disease's carrier. This student is really sad. Look at how sad he is. Listen to the sad music. You can help. All that is required of you to help is both of your kidneys. This simple donation can help those in need. Please, donate today.
Thanks, Diego. Maybe I should get to the nurse to see if I have Coccidiomitis B.
At least you'll have free health care if Bernie is elected.
The Triton girls basketball team has had an impressive season, making it all the way to the semifinals and Cape Ann League championships.
The team has a lot of good players, but they'd be even better if they had Sean Landry on their team.
Don't believe us? Watch this.
This kid Gabe Butts thinks he's good at basketball, but is not going to come to school. So I'm just going to show you guys on VTV some of the tricks up my sleeve.
That's all we have for this week's episode.
Hope you enjoyed a break from your classwork.
For Michaela, I'm Diego. Sayonara.
Wowza. Alrighty. I'm Batman.
Are you okay?
How do you do that? That's realistic.
Living
Okay.
life with Hep C.
And cover. And cover. You and you and you and you.